God says, I am working behind the scenes to bring everything together for you. There is more happening in your life right now than you can see. I want you to hold that thought for a moment before moving past it, because the human tendency when things are uncertain or difficult or simply quiet is to look at the visible surface of your circumstances and conclude that it represents the full picture. That what you can observe is what is actually occurring. That the stillness you perceive on the outside is an accurate reflection of what is or is not happening on your behalf. And when the surface looks unchanged, when the same problems are still present, the same doors still appear closed, the same situations still unresolved, the natural conclusion is that nothing is moving. That you are waiting in a static landscape where very little, if anything, is actually occurring. That conclusion feels reasonable. It feels like clear-eyed realism, the kind of honest assessment that mature people make rather than clinging to hopes that circumstances do not support. But it is not the full truth. Not even close. Because what you see on the surface of your life is only the smallest fraction of what is actually taking place in the deeper and invisible architecture of everything I am arranging on your behalf. The visible world is the last place change appears. Everything significant begins somewhere you cannot observe. Every visible result has an invisible history. And right now, in the unseen spaces behind and beneath and beyond what your eyes can access, I am working. Actively, specifically, comprehensively, with a detail and a precision and a scope that would astonish you if you could see it fully. You cannot see it fully. Not yet. But I want to tell you about it today. I want to pull back, just briefly and just enough, the curtain between what you can see and what I am doing, so that you can get some sense of the reality of what is already in motion on your behalf. Because faith is strengthened not just by choosing to believe blindly but by understanding, even partially, the nature of the one you are trusting and the way he works. And the way I work, the particular methodology of how I move in the lives of people I love, is something I want you to understand more deeply today, so that the next time you look at the unchanged surface of your circumstances, you will be able to look at it differently. Not with denial, not with forced positivity, but with a genuine and informed confidence that the stillness on the surface is not the whole story. I work behind the scenes. This is not a limitation of my power, as though I could only manage the hidden things and require the cooperation of visible circumstances to accomplish the obvious ones. It is the nature of how I most characteristically operate. It is, in many ways, my signature. The preparation that happens in the dark before the light arrives. The roots that grow deep and invisible underground before the tree is ever seen above it. The conversation between two people, in a room you have never entered, that shifts a decision in a direction that will eventually, through a chain of events you could not have orchestrated, create the exact opening your situation has been waiting for. The thought that I place in someone's mind at 3 a.m. that begins a process they cannot fully explain but that moves them toward you and toward what you need. The timing of a chance encounter that does not look like anything significant in the moment but that is, in fact, a carefully placed intersection of lives that I have been engineering for months. None of that is visible to you. All of it is real. Think about the most significant moments of provision and breakthrough and change in your own life, the ones that, when you look back, you can see were unmistakably from me. How many of them arrived through a process you could see clearly in advance? How many of them unfolded logically, predictably, in full view of your understanding? And how many of them came out of nowhere, through channels you would never have thought to engineer, through people you would never have thought to ask, through circumstances that seemed entirely unrelated to what you needed until suddenly, unexpectedly, they converged into exactly the answer you had been praying toward? That is how I work. Not always, but characteristically. I work in the places you are not watching. I arrange things in the spaces you do not have access to. I move people and circumstances and timing along pathways that are invisible to you until the moment of convergence, when suddenly everything that was being prepared in secret becomes visible all at once, and what looked like nothing was actually everything, already in motion, already almost arrived. That is the reality of your situation right now. What looks like nothing happening is actually everything being arranged. I want to speak to the specific weight of this season for you, because I know what it is like to be in a period of apparent stillness when everything in you is desperate for movement. When you have prayed and trusted and waited and the days keep coming and going and the situation keeps looking substantially the same and the temptation grows, gradually and persistently, to start taking matters into your own hands. To stop waiting for the hidden preparation and start forcing visible results. To stop trusting the process you cannot see and start managing the outcome you can. I understand that temptation. I understand the human need for evidence, for confirmation, for something tangible to hold on to when the invisible work of my hands has not yet produced a visible result. That need is not a failure of faith. It is a feature of being human, of living in a body in a physical world where reality is assessed through what can be observed and measured and touched. I made you that way. I understand the parameters of the experience I placed you in. But I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it honestly. When you have taken matters into your own hands in the past, when the waiting became unbearable and you moved ahead of what I was preparing, and engineered an outcome through your own effort and your own timing, how did that turn out? Not always, but more often than not, did what you forced open carry the same quality, the same rightness, the same sustainable peace as what I prepared and opened for you in my own timing? Did the relationship you pushed into being before it was ready carry the same depth as the ones that developed in a season when you were patient enough to let the preparation happen? Did the opportunity you manufactured through sheer determination produce the same fruit as the ones that arrived in a way that felt effortless, almost inevitable, clearly placed rather than forced? I am not asking to shame the times you ran ahead. I am asking because the honest answer to those questions contains important information. Information about the difference between what human effort can produce and what my hidden preparation brings forth. What I arrange in the invisible places carries a quality that self-manufactured outcomes simply cannot replicate. There is a peace in it, a rightness, a sense of this was prepared for me that makes the arrival different from anything you could have engineered on your own. I am preparing something for you right now that carries that quality. And the reason I need you to wait, the reason I am asking you not to move ahead of what I am doing, is that what I am bringing together for you is intricate. The pieces are many. The connections are complex. The timing of the convergence is specific and deliberate and cannot simply be rushed without compromising the completeness of what arrives. Let me try to give you some sense of what I mean by this. What I am arranging for you is not a single thing. It is a confluence of things, people, circumstances, timing, inner readiness, outer alignment, that all need to arrive together for what you are waiting for to arrive well. Not just to arrive, but to arrive in a form that is sustainable, that is genuinely good, that serves not just your immediate need but the larger purposes I have for your life in the seasons beyond this one. And bringing all of those elements into alignment, the right person at the right moment with the right word, the right door opening at the moment the right version of you is standing in front of it, the right provision materializing at the precise moment the need is fully defined, that requires a coordination that operates across multiple lives and multiple circumstances simultaneously. You are one thread in a tapestry that involves other people, other prayers, other stories that intersect with yours in ways neither you nor they can see yet. And I am the one weaving, holding all the threads, knowing how each one connects to the others, moving each one with intention, with full knowledge of the pattern, toward a finished piece that none of the individual threads could perceive from their position within it. Trust the weaver, even when you cannot see the pattern, especially when you cannot see the pattern. There is a moment in the story of Esther, a young woman placed, by what looked like coincidence and circumstance, in a position that made no obvious sense until the moment it made complete and urgent and unmistakable sense. For months, perhaps years, the arrangement of her life could have been read as simply fortunate or simply strange or simply the random accumulation of events that happens to any person moving through time. There was no visible design. And then, in a single season, the entire invisible architecture was revealed at once. Every seemingly coincidental placement, every apparently random connection, every door that had opened without an obvious reason, it was all, suddenly, visibly, unmistakably preparation. For something specific. For something significant. For something that only she, in her exact position, with her exact relationships, at this exact moment, could do. She had been placed there on purpose. Not by chance. Not by fortunate accident. but by a God who was working behind the scenes across years of what looked like simply your life, arranging everything that needed to be in place for the moment when the arrangement would matter most. Your life is not simply your life. It is a story being written by a God who works behind the scenes. And the things in it that look random, the placements that seem coincidental, the connections that appear accidental, I need you to look at them again. Look at the people in your life who are there in ways that seem unremarkable but that, in a season not far from this one, may reveal themselves to be exactly who is needed exactly where they are. Look at the skills and the experiences and the hard-won knowledge you have accumulated through journeys that seem to lead nowhere, and consider that they may be precisely the equipment required for something you have not yet been assigned. Look at the position you are in, even this position, the one that feels like waiting, like marking time, like being held in place without clear reason, and consider that you may be being held in place specifically because the moment for which you are being held has not yet arrived. When it arrives, your placement will make sense. Everything will make sense. I want you to pause here and bring your specific situation fully into your awareness. The particular tangle of circumstances, the specific knot of unresolved things that has been sitting in the center of your life, the arrangement of pieces that does not yet make sense from where you stand. Hold it in your mind, all of it, with as much honest clarity as you can manage. And then, instead of looking at it as a problem waiting for a solution, try, just briefly, to look at it as a canvas. A space in which something is being created. An arrangement of elements that are not yet in their final positions but that are being moved, quietly and continuously, by hands that know exactly where each one belongs. What if the piece that seems most out of place is actually the key? What if the relationship that seems most complicated is the very connection that the resolution runs through? What if the delay in the most important area of your situation is specifically timed to the arrival of something in another area that has to come first, that you cannot yet see, but that changes everything once it does? I am not asking you to manufacture an optimistic interpretation of every difficulty. I am asking you to hold open the genuine possibility, the real, legitimate, grounded in my character possibility, that what looks like a problem is actually a preparation. That what looks like a mess is actually a masterpiece in progress. That what looks like nothing happening is actually the most important behind-the-scenes work of your entire life happening right now, in this very season, while you are standing in what feels like stillness. Because it is. That is exactly what is occurring. I want to speak to the people in your life for a moment, specifically the ones who are connected to the thing you are waiting for. The ones whose decisions or whose openness or whose movement in a particular direction is part of what needs to happen for your situation to resolve. You have probably been thinking about them, wondering about them, perhaps trying to influence them, or feeling frustrated by your inability to do so, or feeling the particular helplessness of knowing that part of what you are waiting for is in someone else's hands and you cannot control what they decide or when they decide it. I am working on them too. Not in a way that overrides their freedom or manipulates their will. I do not work that way. But I move in human hearts in ways that are profound and invisible and entirely real. I place thoughts and impressions in moments of clarity. I arrange encounters that shift perspectives. I speak in the quiet of someone's interior life in ways they may not recognize as me but that produce movement, openness, a softening, a reconsideration, a nudging in the right direction. The people who are connected to what you are waiting for are not outside of my reach simply because they are outside of your control. And what I am doing in them, right now, is part of the larger work of bringing everything together. You do not need to manage this. You do not need to figure out how to position yourself in relation to them or what to say or what to do to move the process along. What you need to do is trust me with them. Release them, release the outcome, release the timing, release the how, into the hands of the one who is already at work in ways neither you nor they can see. That release, that genuine and specific surrender of the people and circumstances you have been trying to manage, that is one of the most powerful things you can do right now. Not because your passivity contributes to the outcome, but because your surrender creates the interior space in which I can move most freely. Clenched hands, as I have said before, cannot receive. But more than that, the energy you are currently spending on managing and worrying and trying to engineer what only I can arrange is energy that could be redirected toward the things that actually are in your domain. Your own preparation. Your own growth. Your own deepening of the relationship with me, that is the real foundation of everything else. Let me handle the behind-the-scenes work. That is my domain. That is where I operate most characteristically and most powerfully. And let yourself focus on the things I have actually given you to do right now, the faithfulness in the small things, the stewardship of what is already in your hands, the deepening of your own readiness for what is coming. My child, I want you to know something that I need to land in you more than as a nice idea. I want it to land as lived reality. As something you can stand on when the surface of your life still looks unchanged and the doubt tries to tell you that nothing is moving. I am for you. Completely. Without reservation or competition or divided attention. The same love and intention and creative power that I have invested in anything I have ever done, I am investing in what I am doing in your life right now. You are not an afterthought. You are not a minor project I am managing alongside more important things. You are the one I am thinking about when I move the pieces that need to be moved. You are the one I am considering when I arrange the timing that needs to be arranged. You are the reason the behind-the-scenes work is happening at the level of detail and care and precision that it is. This is personal. I am not running a generic program of divine provision that processes your situation alongside millions of others in a way that makes you one of many. I know you specifically. I know the contours of your hope, the history of your waiting, the particular shape of what you need and what you have been believing for. And the work I am doing is fitted to exactly that. Custom designed for the specific person that you are, the specific season that you are in, and the specific future that I have prepared for you. Nothing about this is generic. Everything about this is personal. So when the days come, and they will come, when the surface of your life still looks unchanged and the temptation to lose heart is real and present, I want you to come back to this. Not just as a comforting sentiment but as actual, grounded, character-based confidence. The God who is working behind the scenes on your behalf is the same God who has always been faithful. Who has never once abandoned a work he began. Who has never once forgotten a promise he made. Who has never once been defeated by a circumstance that looked impossible, or stymied by a situation that appeared hopeless, or stopped by anything the visible world has ever thrown in the path of what he intended to do. That God, that faithful, powerful, personally attentive, endlessly resourceful God, is working on your behalf. Right now. Behind the scenes. In ways you cannot see. With a scope and a detail and a love that would take your breath away if you could witness it fully. The pieces are moving. The people are being positioned. The timing is being calibrated. The doors are being prepared. The connections are being drawn. The provision is being arranged. The convergence is coming. Everything is coming together. Not randomly. Not coincidentally. Not through the blind movement of circumstances without direction or intention. But purposefully, personally, specifically, brought together by the hands of a God who loves you and who does not leave the work of his hands half-finished. Stay steady. Stay soft. Stay expectant. Keep your eyes open for the moments when the invisible work becomes visible, because those moments are coming, and they will come perhaps more suddenly and more completely than you anticipated. The behind-the-scenes work has a way of revealing itself all at once, in a moment of convergence that makes everything that preceded it make sense in an instant. That moment is approaching. The work is nearly ready to be seen. And when it is revealed, when the full scope of what I have been doing in the hidden places of your life becomes visible, I believe you will stand in something between tears and laughter, in the particular overwhelmed gratitude of a person who sees, suddenly and completely, how loved they have been all along. You are loved that much. Right now. In this moment of not yet seeing. The work is real. It is thorough. It is personal. And it is already further along than you know.